Dear students, I am Dr. Sangeeta, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Dayanand College, Hisar. I welcome you all in my online teaching class. Today, you are going to have second video lecture on the story with the photographer written by Stephen Butler Leacock. Before we proceed further, I would like to create a link with the previous lecture which we had done. The narrator visited a studio in order to have his photograph taken. But the photographer was an eccentric man. His behavior was quite strange, and he kept on giving whimsical instructions to the narrator, which narrator patiently followed. But at last, he lost his control, and the narrator stood up from the stool he was sitting, and just then the photographer clicked his photo. Then the narrator wanted to see the proof or the negative or the photo which was taken by the photographer, but he was asked by the photographer to come on Saturday. On Saturday, I went back. Now the narrator says that on Saturday he again went to the studio. The photographer beckoned me in, and the photographer called the narrator inside. He called him in to come inside the studio. I thought he seemed quieter and graver than before. The narrator says that though the photographer was like a natural scientist, he was eccentric in his behavior, but on that day he looked more quiet, more calm, and very serious than before. I think, too, there was a certain pride in his manner, and the narrator also felt that the photographer was feeling proud of himself. He was having certain pride in his ways. He unfolded the proof of a large photograph, and we both looked at it in silence. Then the photographer opened a proof of a very large photograph, which was, of course, of the narrators, and both the narrator as well as the photographer looked at it silently without talking to each other. Is it me? I asked. And when the narrator looked at the photograph, he was surprised and shocked. He was taken aback, and he asked that is it me? Is it my photograph? Yes, he said quietly. It is you. And he went on looking at it. The photographer was very calm, and very calmly he replied, yes, it is your photograph. And he kept on looking at the photograph. The eyes, I said hesitatingly, don't look very much like mine. But the narrator was surprised to see the photograph, because the photograph didn't look like his own face. The face was totally changed. He said, somewhat hesitatingly, he was hesitating. He was no, because he was from a very humble background, he was quite educated, so he was not blunt in his ways. So hesitatingly he said, the eyes are not like the eyes of mine. Oh no, he answered. The photographer answered, of course, these eyes are not yours. I have retouched them. I have changed them. Retouch here means change. They come out splendidly, don't they? And he was feeling very proud. The photographer was feeling very proud of his work. He thought that he has shown his creativity in changing the face of the narrator. So he said, now the eyes look very beautiful. Splendid, don't they? And he wants to confirm this statement from the narrator. Fine, I said, but surely my eyebrows are not like that. Then the narrator said, okay, if you have retouched them, you have changed them, it's okay. But I am quite pretty sure that the eyebrows are not like the eyebrows of mine. No, said the photographer with a momentary glance at my face. The eyebrows are removed. See what answers he is giving? No, said the photographer with a momentary glance at my face. Momentary here means only for a short moment of time, flash of seconds. The photographer looked towards the face of the narrator and he said that the eyebrows are removed, that he had removed the eyebrows. We have a process now for putting in new ones, and he detailed it. He said that now a time we are having a process of removing eyebrows completely from the face, and we are capable of putting in new eyebrows. You will notice here we have applied it to carry the hair away from the brow. I don't like the hair low on the skull. And he further gives the explanation that why he had removed the eyebrows. He said that he doesn't like the hair which are very low on the skull. He wants the forehead to be very clear so that the eyebrows may become prominent and look beautiful. Oh, you don't, I said. Now here it is a satire. The narrator says, oh, you don't like the eyebrows. You don't like the hair low on the skull. That's why you removed my eyebrows from my face completely. It's okay. No, he went on, I don't care for it. I like to get the hair back further and make out a new brow line. Now, the photographer says that he didn't care for it. I like to get the hair back further and make out a new brow line. I want that your brow line should be very beautifully carved. It should be in a very fine shape. That's why I removed it. And what about the mouth? I said, with a bitterness that was lost on the photographer. Is that mine? Now, the narrator was feeling very restless. He asked, what about the mouth? And a sense of bitterness was there. But the photographer didn't notice that bitterness, that stern attitude. Is that mine? Is the mouth mine? Is it my mouth? It suggested a little, he said. Yours is too low. I found I couldn't use it. But the photographer replied that no, it's not your mouth, exactly not yours, because yours is too low, and that is why I have adjusted it a little, because your mouth is too low, so I found that I cannot use it in the photograph, because the photograph would not look good had I used the same mouth. Then comes about the ears. Then he talks about the ears. The ears, though, I said, strike me as a good likeness. They are just like mine. The narrator says that the ears are having good likeness. They are like my own ears. And I think these are my ears. Yes, said the photographer thoughtfully. He was thinking something, and he replied, yes. He was in a deep thought. That is so. Yeah, these are your ears, but I can fix that all right in the print. But if you are not happy with your ears, then I have a technique with the help of which I can make them different, make them look different. And when I will get the print of this photograph, you will have entirely different ears. We have a process now for removing the ears entirely. They have removed the eyes entirely. The photographer had removed the eyes completely, the eyebrows completely. Now he says that they are having a process with the help of which they can remove the ears entirely, completely. I'll see, he wanted to say that I'll see if I could remove them. Listen. But now it was the limit. Now the narrator was showing angry protest. He said, listen, I interrupted. He stopped the photographer, drawing myself up and animating my features to their full extent, and speaking with a bitterness that should have blasted the man on the spot. He interrupted and he tried to animate his features to their full extent, fully. And then he was having a sense of bitterness, a sense of quite a sense that is filled with rage. And it was so that it could have blasted the man on the spot. I came here for a photograph, a picture, something which, bad though it seems, would have looked like me. Now he explains the purpose of his visiting the studio. He said that I came to the studio so that I can have a photograph, a picture, something like that, though it could be bad, because I know that my face is not a beautiful face. It has many faults in it, the features are not good, but at least the photograph would have looked like me. I wanted something that would depict my face as heaven gave it to me. I wanted something that would show my face, the face which I have been gifted by that Almighty, which I have been gifted by the God. Humble though the gift may have been, though this gift, that is, the gift here is the face of the narrator. Though this gift, the face of the narrator, is very ordinary, it's very normal, it's not a beautiful face, but still, it is the face that has been given to him by the God. By God. I wanted something that my friends might keep after my death, to reconcile them to my loss. I wanted something that is this photograph that my friends might keep after my death, to reconcile. To reconcile means to have some solace them to my loss, so that after my death I could give this photograph to my friends, which they would keep with them, and they will find some solace because I have departed from this world. It seems that I was mistaken, but I am sure that now it's very clear after seeing this photograph, because this photograph doesn't look like my own face. Now it's very clear to me that I was wrong. What I wanted is not done. I wanted a photograph that looked like me, that would have looked like my own face which I am having, which I have been gifted by God. But what I wanted is not done. Go on then with your brutal work. Now the narrator says that all this process in which the photographer had removed his eyes, his eyebrows, his mouth, his brow line, then his ears, or whatever he had, his lips, etc. He calls it the brutal work, that it's not a good work, it's an uncivilized work. Keep on doing whatever you can do with this photograph. Take your negative, or whatever it is you call it, dip it in anything you like. Remove the eyes, correct the mouth, adjust the face, restore the lips, reanimate the necktie, and reconstruct the waistcoat. That take this negative with you and do with it whatever you could do. Whether you want to remove the eyes, remove it. Whether you want to correct the mouth, correct it. Whether you want to adjust the face, then adjust it. If you want to restore the lips, restore them. If you want to reanimate the necktie, do it. And if you want to reconstruct the waistcoat, then go with it. Coat it with an inch of cloth. Take this photograph or the negative or the proof, whatever you call it, and coat it with some glossy thing, shiny thing. Shade it, then give some shade to it. Gild it, coat it with gold. Dip it in gold. Till even you acknowledge, you think that it is finished. And when you think that your work, this brutal work, is complete, then when you have done all that, keep it for yourself and your friends. When you think that you have done everything, whatever you liked to do, then keep this photograph with you only. Because for me, it is but a worthless trifle. Because for me, this photograph is just like a worthless trifle. Worthless is useless. Trifle is unimportant thing. A bauble, a gewgaw. Only it's just like a cheap, showy thing that has no value for me. I burst into tears and left. After saying this word, after saying this photograph, a worthless trifle, the narrator bursts into tears and leaves the place. So, with this, our story ends. So, we found that the story with the photographer is full of humor from the beginning to the end. There is humor even in situations that are very distressing and painful for the narrator. When the narrator says that I want my photograph taken in the very first sentence, then we feel a little smile on our face. Then as the story progresses, the reader's smile keep on increasing. Sometimes it also changes into giggles, chuckles, and even peals of laughter is also there. So with this, we complete our story, and our second chapter with the photographer, written by Stephen Leacock, is finished. And I hope that you would have liked the story.